And welcome, everybody. We've been looking forward to this. Glad you're here. I see a lot of old friends in the audience. That's exciting to see. And let's take a moment, and I'd like to invite our panelists to give us a short blurb on who they are and what they do. Let's start with you, Shanna.
Okay, so I'm Shannon Nardekia. I am head of campaign execution and media strategy at Nokia. I've been at Nokia almost 20 years, and I have had various positions from sales to product marketing. Most of my years being spent in the trenches of lead generation, what works, what doesn't.
My name is Sharon Hoffman. I'm the Senior Director for Corporate Marketing at Tyler Technologies. Tyler Technologies is a software development company that serves the public sector, so cities, counties, school districts, etc. I've been at Tyler for 16 years. I've been responsible for marketing for both field-level marketing and now corporate marketing, including our Journey marketing experience.
Hi, I'm Kim McGill. I'm our VP of Marketing at Lennox Residential. I've been with the Lennox company for a little over 7 years, but just in the last year I moved over to the Lennox side of the business, which is where we sell HVAC equipment, so furnaces, air conditioners, the things that make all of our lives comfortable. So I moved to the Lennox side of the business just about a year ago.
Excellent. Well, thank you. It's a big chunk of your day to come out here and share your wisdom, and I know I appreciate it a lot, and I'm sure our audience does as well. So I'd like to kick us off today. We're talking about customer journeys and customer journey orchestration. We're going to cover multiple subjects within that. Before we start, I'd like to do a quick poll. This is a poll by raising your hand and putting 1, 2, or 3 fingers in the air. If customer journey work is new to you, please put 1 finger in the air. If it's a familiar subject but you're still looking, please 2. And if it's really familiar and you've got a level of mastery, please put 3 fingers in the air. I'd just like to get a sense of where everybody's at. Very good. We got a room full of journey people. That's all right. Nice. So I'd like to kick us off with a few thoughts that I'm going to invite our panelists to react to in a moment, but I'd like to put out a few thoughts on what do we mean by customer journey work and customer journey marketing, and to get us all on the same launching pad for this discussion. So a couple things. First of all, whenever we're talking about the customer journey, I would say we're talking about customer centricity. We're not talking about what do we want to do to customers. We want to talk about, it's a conversation about what are our customers experiencing and what does the journey look like from their perspective. Second thing I would say, customer journey is different than a campaign. You know, campaigns are still pushing messages at people. Customer journeys reach across a broader life cycle. From maybe the time your company first starts some kind of a dialogue with the customer, possibly all the way out through product usage, loyalty, etc. There's a full life cycle there that's relevant when we're talking about customer journeys. Third thing I'd say, there is a conceptual angle into customer journey work that's very important and very meaningful, but it can also imply a lot of technology and a lot of data. At the end of the day, if we're really going deep, we're trying to read how our customers are, what their state is, how are they feeling, how are they responding. We're looking at their behaviors, and we're trying to engage with customers in their journey. That implies a lot of data, harnessing lots of different kinds of data, possibly using automation tools, and it possibly goes beyond the current state of automation, which is part of our subject today. Last thing I'd say, customer journey work is a journey itself. We talk with a lot of customers and friends and organizations that we know, and we hear how they're engaging in this, and I can't name a one that would say they totally have their arms around it and they have it figured out. Everybody's in a learning curve, so that's what we talk about today as well. So let me start. Can I ask you, Shanna? Can you give me a reaction to what I just said? Am I in the weeds? Does it make any of it make sense? What are your thoughts?
It makes a lot of sense on many different levels. You know, one of the most important things about customer journey work to me is if you, and we were talking about this earlier, but if you look at the number of ads your average person is seeing a day, the numbers, and I've seen, varied statistics on different websites, anywhere between 4,000 and 12,000 a day. So a lot of people fighting for mind share of your customers. So having the right message at the right time and helps create a memorable experience. And, really is the basis to me for an audience-centric journey.
A lot of what you said resonates with me as well. At Tyler, our clients are clients for a long time. We like to say the sales cycle is short 18 to 24 months, but we have clients for life, and that might sound aspirational, but by and large it's true. We have about 99% client retention year over year, and so we'll have the same technology client for decades. And so one of the things that you talked about is after the sale, after the buying journey, what does that client retention look like? What does the loyalty program look like? What does the advocacy program look like? How do we track engagement? I think that's all important in our world.
So this is great when you're the last one, you can build off of what others have said. So, Shanna started by talking about the number of brand messages that were hit within a day. And if you look at another statistic, humans can only process 3 things at a time, which is the way we get through life being hit with these messages is we either filter or we automate, right? So anybody who's probably watched a football game over the weekend knows there were ads on TV. And if anybody can recall one of those ads, you're probably unique in the audience. Because unless it was something you were interested in the first place, you filtered it out and didn't see it. So now think about the HVAC space where we are. And it's a very fascinating, as a marketer, it's a very fascinating industry because how many of you guys would rip out your air conditioner and not have one? Yeah. So it's something we won't live without. It's almost on the bottom rung of Maslow's hierarchy, right? Food, condition, shelter, safety. But yet, I asked this question because Shannon bought a new air conditioner. I said, how many of you have a party when you buy a new one and invite your friends over to see it? Right? Nobody does. But if you redo your toilet, right, you'll bring them over and say, look at my new bathroom, look at my great toilet. So toilets are above us. So combine those two things that, unless it's absolutely relevant, I'm working in a space that nobody cares, but we as consumers want 3 things always: value, choices, and convenience. And so how do we then have a dialogue that at least gets people in the conversation of talking about HVAC and talking about something so that we can at least talk about our product? So it's a very challenging space for us when you think about the customer journey and what's interesting at that moment in time.
Perfect. I hear a common thread already. I would put the word relevancy on this. How do we detect what's relevant to a customer at that moment based on what they're dealing with? Did I read you right? Yeah, let me, I'd like to ask a second question just to get a frame on things. So in the companies we talk to, we see a lot of companies talking about customer journeys, but it has different flavors. The conversation within companies varies. Sometimes it's conceptual or strategic. How do we envision a customer journey? How do we envision a better customer journey would be that. Sometimes it's about data and analytics. How do we tell what our customers are experiencing? How do we look at data that help us read that better? Sometimes it's design. How do we actually design and enable customer journeys? How do we design content that's relevant for customer journeys? And another one is actually automation and enablement. How do we put some serious technology against this and turn it into something that can scale? So, question number 2, guys. What kind of conversation? What is the conversation in your organizations? Is it one of those? Is it multiple of those? Is this something I didn't mention? You want to start, Kim?
All right, I'll start. This is the tough seat to sit in. Yeah, so we have all those conversations, especially because, as I said, we're in an industry where people don't think about us until it breaks, and then we're dealing with a bunch of happy people. So, and as we say, it's an expensive proposition that you have to make a quick decision on and put your trust in somebody you're probably meeting for the first time. Not a great dynamic. So as we think about what consumers are going through at that moment when they've got to make a quick decision and figure out who they can trust. Because the one good thing is, at least when a customer is sitting across from one of our dealers, they've already made the decision. They already know they have to make a decision. Now they need somebody to help them feel good about it. So if we can take automation and help consumers understand before they're sitting across from that stranger what they're getting themselves into, so that we can diffuse some of that anxiety that they have, it builds that trust across the entire platform, lets the consumers have a better conversation, lets our dealers be more consultative, and hopefully everybody walks away a little bit happier.
So at Tyler, since our business is not based on transactional transactions, and instead we are engaging with our clients at a partnership level for a long time, we really focus on understanding where our clients are currently in their current client journey as a client of Tyler's. If you think about across your organization where your client data lies, it's probably in a lot of different systems. It starts out probably in a sales system as you're acquiring a client, and your marketing automation system as you're supporting the sales efforts. But then as they become a client, they're probably in a finance system. What products do they use and what do we build them for? They're probably in some sort of implementation project management system. They're probably in a customer support system. At Tyler, we have communities and online communities and engagement communities that they're in. What we were finding is that we didn't have insight into that one client across the board. And Tyler, this isn't a small problem. We have 15,000 cities, counties, school districts using our software, and many departments within those cities. So we're talking about hundreds and thousands of people that we want to be partners with. So that's been what we're focusing on, is on the data side.
That's huge. Thank you.
So at Nokia, we have two distinct markets. We have one which is our growth markets. Our growth markets, people who still think we sell devices. And then we have another market that has kind of been our embedded base for many years. They know who we are. They bought from us for many years. And they're your traditional kind of telecom vendors. In Nokia, what we have done is we have embarked on this customer journey, embedding it into our marketing organization at the same time as we're doing a major digital transformation. What it really has forced us to do is, once you start mapping, so we have a lot of personas, right? So we have a lot of people we want to hit with the right message at the right time. What that amounts to is a lot of content. A lot of people needed to develop that content, not to mention the many ways you want to roll it out. So once we started mapping all of this out, what it forced us to do is we had to develop some priorities. We had to decide what personas were the most important. Not that they're not all important, because they are, but we had to really kind of go for some low-hanging fruit and do a few things well, as opposed to trying to be everything to everyone.
Thank you, Shanna. So let me kind of go a step deeper in that, if I can. So you are mapping journeys. You're conceptualizing journey experiences. You're working on content. I think I heard all of those things, and there's a complexity in that. Where do you see this going? It sounds like it's very active, but 2 years from now, or just pick a time frame. But where is this going in your mind?
So I will say I speak very much from a lead generation background, and I think for many years, and we were talking a little bit earlier about the fun relationship between a sales and marketing team, and what I see from this whole journey, 2 years down the road, I'm going to have better leads. I'm going to have a sales team that is much happier with me. And, I'll tell you why. For many years, kind of being in that lead generation background, my bad leads, I always thought I was just choosing the wrong tactics, the wrong publishers. It shouldn't have been, I think really where my issue lies is my content wasn't hitting the right person at the right time in the right way where they wanted to talk to me, right? It wasn't memorable. So I think at the end of the day, 2 years, I'm going to have a very happy sales team.
Nice. Nice.
A little optimistic, but.
Yeah, no, very good. Kim, can we get your thoughts on this? So where is Linux heading in your mind, or where would you like to see things go?
So it's our industry has been based on the OEM or OEM distributor, we're both on the Linux side, selling to a dealer who then sells to a homeowner. So all of our conversations to date have been primarily focused at the contractors that are buying then selling to consumers. But if you think about what's happened with innovation, the consumers, the dealers, and the OEMs are starting to converge together. And consumers in their journey are bouncing in and out of the OEM site, OEM tools, dealer site, dealer tools, third party, they're all over the place. So those are coming together. So one of the things that we're taking a good hard look at now is we got in the habit of talking tech speak, talking a dealer language. Now, our dealers then use that same language when they talk to homeowners. No wonder homeowners are nervous, right? Because now not only do I have to make a decision, I don't even know you, now you're speaking a language that I don't understand and I don't want to feel stupid. So we're changing our language and our dialogue to be consumer-based. And one of the questions we put in front of us on every one of our content pieces, or we're trying to remind ourselves of this, is this phrase, why should I care? So that we're phrasing it in a way that if we're saying this, why should I care from a consumer perspective, that helps keep us in check a little bit to make sure we're speaking a language that has a chance to get through.
Very great. Now, thank you. So I hear a lot of that relevancy of content. Right, based on what the customer is dealing with. Is this mostly web-centric in your mind,
It's
Kim?
across all of our materials. And it's a new language, because like I said, everything that we've written to date is all written in kind of OEM speak, OEM acronyms. You know, there's a commercial on right now, so you'll hear it if anybody listens to it in the morning. You guys heard one of our dealers, actually one of ours too, that's advertising 16 SEER pricing at 14, or 16 SEER equipment at 14 SEER pricing. Who knows what that means? Right? But they think it's a great ad, and they think it's a great deal. And inside our house, we probably would have went, oh, that's cool. But when you ask, nobody knows any idea what that means. So how is it getting through?
You know, I really do think you're hitting at one of the key aspects. You know, we all love to talk about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, as, you know, Nokia, you know, we really want to lead with, you know, you want to talk to Nokia, and this is why. But the truth of it is you need to be inside your customer's head. What are their pain points? Why do they want to talk to you? And I will say this 1,000 times, what is going to stick in their memory? What's going to be memorable for them to want to come back and talk to you?
Why should I care?
Yeah.
Thank you. And if I could go one step deeper, Kim. So given that you don't get to see, I mean, you always have a dealer kind of in the middle, or often a dealer in the middle. How do you think about seeing the customer and what are their interests, and especially if it's crossing different channels? How do you think about that?
Well, most of it is, one, we try to recruit the right dealers. So we do spend a lot of time, and we do have a pretty good muscle in that space. But I think it's putting the tools online, using the automation, and using our content strategy to try to help consumers along the way, so that we're not talking to them only in that moment in time when they have a problem, but helping them understand when they're about to have a problem, helping them understand along the way the other areas that they could be integrating and interacting with us to make their lives better, what kind of enhancements, accessories, things they could do on the system they have in their home today to make their homes more comfortable. So there's a lot of adjacent conversations that we can have. And the beautiful thing about doing it online is everybody Googles today, everybody goes online, and they can do it at a time when they're not stressed.
Thank you. That's really good. Still, I'm going to come back. I want to talk more about automation and how do you enable some of that, which is probably a tough subject when we're talking HVAC. Sharon, I saved this question for you because I already heard you talking about a data slanted vision. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what does it look like to get different data sets. How do you think about that, and how do you enable that so that you can see a customer? If I read you right.
Right. So we know in the customer journey, we have a couple milestones that we're trying to reach. We're trying to reach the milestone that they choose you as a vendor or product, and then you try to reach the milestone that they re-choose you as a vendor or a product. So you have repeat business, whether in the consumer world or in the B2B world, as the three of us are, or B2B, the distributor world. So it's still a sales cycle for us. And one of the biggest things that we look at is contract renewal every year. And so our clients have the opportunity to choose us or not choose us. And so we are constantly selling to our clients all year long on our current technologies, the upgrades that we give them for free, the training that we give them, and keeping engaged as their vendor partner. Often, we are their partner longer than the staff that are in these cities and counties are there. So, but every year we have to make the sell again to renew, which is why the retention rate is particularly impressive. And we put together a lot of programs internally within our own business, training programs, engagement programs, online communities that are all designed to keep our clients engaged with us. Well, one of the things that we find is sometimes our clients aren't engaged with us, and that's a big deal. It's a big deal if we have a client always calling support, complaining, but it's a big deal if we have a client never calling support. And we want to put in KPIs into our system to measure those and have the right measurements so we know who is in a cycle that they are highly engaged, that they are one of our advocates, but who's not, and who do we need to go talk to?
Super good. So I'm curious, just going a step further on that, getting that data collected so you can see a customer and read their state, what's on their mind, or what are they dealing with, or maybe even start to surmise, looks like this one's not engaged, we better intervene. Do you have technologies, data, automation that's helping with that, or is that like a gap?
Sure. So I think we all know as marketers that marketers in a corporation are one of the most prolific users of technology. We are no exception. So one of the things that we embarked on 18 months ago is recognizing that we weren't making these connection points. It was because our technology wasn't connected. So we did make an investment in replacing both our customer CRM and our sales CRM, so they're on the same platform. We've also integrated our Marketo, our marketing platform, into these systems. We have other systems that are not integrated that would be very beneficial. For example, our finance system. What are we billing our client for versus what we're marketing to them that they have and what they're training them on. So then the next step after that is developing the KPIs that you would be looking for to measure this. Things like, are they reading your newsletter? Are they clicking on your outbound communication? Are they participating in your community forums? Are they going to your training events? Are they going to your webinars? Are they on your website at all? There's a lot of different KPIs that you may be wanting to put in place to measure on. How long has it been since they were a client? We know that as in all relationships, there's kind of a point marker that somebody might be saying, maybe I need to go look at technology, maybe the 7-year itch if you're going to make a comparison to a marriage. Are they approaching that time? Where are they? How do we measure them at that point? It's probably different for every industry, but that's how it is in ours.
And I'm going to wager it's a challenge in every industry. I'd be curious to hear, Kim and Shanna, your reactions and or builds on that. Is data a challenge, and what kind of challenge is it, if it is?
Great. See my gray hair? It is an enormous challenge. It is probably one of the biggest challenges we face is the thousands of different data points that you get and how you handle them. And one of the things I didn't mention that I wish I would have when you asked me, 2 years down the road, where will I be? And the truth of it is, ideally, I will have a more automated system that when someone clicks on my webinar, based on the title that they put in, they go through a certain orchestrated flow. We are not there. We're working to get there, but 2 years down the road, hopefully that's where we'll be. And what you overlook is, as you build these MarTech stacks and you're pulling all these sets of software together, you're running into constant little problems and little quirks that you've got to fix. And it takes a little bit of time, and I will say that's probably our biggest issue is being patient while we work out these quirks and getting that system that flows in an automated manner and kind of dealing with all of those hundreds of data sets.
If I could jump in for a second too, I feel like the MarTech stack and the sales enablement stack, they've gotten to a point that they're pretty good at understanding the relationship during the buying cycle, because there's a lot of money in that we want to get them over the finish line. What we've found is that there's, at least in our exploration, there isn't really a focus on the data around the customer once you have them. And so building those dashboards, whether you're using a Power BI with your data sets, I think that's an area that the industry needs to focus on more.
Great point.
Yeah.
Kim, your thoughts?
So data. So my perspective on data is we have a lot of it. Our issue is not that we don't have data. We just don't know how to get to it and use it. So we've done a lot of things, similar to what's been talked about here, is getting it in a way that we can look at it, manipulate it, understand it. So we've connected our systems. We now can tell the profitability of our customers, because before it was all manually done. We know what we sold the product to them for, but we didn't always know what all the back-end rebates were. And we have a lot of them that come from different areas of the business. So we already get some of that connected to understand. We also then can look at how they're engaging. Now that we have a lot more digital tools, you can see when they're engaging with us. We do have a customer engagement or customer retention index. So we can look at, based on how often they're interacting with certain tools, and we're continually reviewing that now, what's the likelihood that they're going to stay with us, grow with us. But yeah, the next area that we're looking at is the lifeblood of our business is getting new dealers, because unless new dealers are hiring a lot more people, they have a capacity issue, because everything that we do is labor intensive in the installation. So for us to grow at the rate we want to, we've got to bring in new customers. And one of the things that we found is we're bringing a lot of new customers, growing our business in the first year, but then in the second year we had a huge attrition problem.
Could I just lob in a quick question? So you've got two facets here. You've got customers and your public-facing brand,
Right.
and you have dealers. Do you think of the dealer relationship as a journey inside of Linux?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I know I talked about the consumer because that's where we're on right now, but yes, the same thing with our dealer, our customer journey as well. Yep.
Intriguing. This is going deep. I'm having fun. So Sharon, can I come back? You were talking about, you made a point that I wanted to just pick up on, that a lot of the MarTech that's out there today is pretty good at prospecting, lead gen, etc., but maybe not so good once you get past that life stage. Is there more to say? Let me throw out a thought and just get you to react. And if I'm in the weeds, just say so. So, you might say that current technology is pretty good at automating campaigns, right? I can have an automated campaign that kind of runs and executes on its own. I can have an always-on automated campaign. When a new customer shows up that fits a certain set of profile characteristics, the system can hear that and start pushing a campaign at the customer. Journey might go beyond that. In that you're reading the customer's state, maybe more deeply, and then you're pivoting a customer, maybe from a prospecting effort to a loyalty, to a re-engagement. Again, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I'm giving you something to react to here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Visibility, Kim said it, and I think I heard Shanna say it. We don't have a lack of data problem. That's not a lack of information. It's getting to it and being able to analyze it in a way that you can make action on. So prior to client acquisition, where are they in the buying cycle? Are they in the discovery phase? And what do you do? And what content do you deliver to them during those phases? And we have tools that help that. I think probably a lot of people in the audience have tools that are doing that. There's some predictive analytics and measuring people, and maybe they're ready to get handed off to sales for a sales conversation. What I find is throughout the cycle, after they become clients, sometimes it drops off. We forget about them from the marketing perspective. But what we know is that when we get somebody at the pinnacle of a buyer's journey, a customer journey, is they become advocates for you. And so that's where we want to get them to. We want to get them to advocating for our products to their peers and continuing our sales funnel. And how do we know that we get there? Well, we have to continue to market to them. And we have to have authentic conversations with them. We have to partner with them and not just treat them like they're a prospect.
Super good. So, do you have the ability in your systems and your data to see when a customer is moving to a different state and then respond? Shift your communications or shift your journey so that you're responding to that.
So for Tyler right now, we're collecting the data. We can pull the reports to find the data. We know what to find. On the pre-sale side, we certainly are. We have systems in place where people reach certain scores or reach certain milestones, and we have a process. Right now, we don't have predictive analytics on our current customer side, so there's not flags being shown for this. Now, so we're doing it manually. I think that's where we need to go next as an organization personally, and that we have processes in place to proactively be alerted to some of these milestones that are being hit by our customers in their customer journey.
Thank you. Shanna, what are your thoughts? Does that ring true, or is it
does.
different at Nokia?
No, yeah, very similar, and we use a lot of the same tools. We use Marketo and Power BI, and I think we not only do I have gray hairs, but I think the people at Marketo have just as many because of me, and we are. But we're pushing the limits, right? We're trying to figure out how to use those data sets and do it intelligently, because we don't have the manpower to do it all manually, right? So automating, that journey as much as possible, rings very true. And, I think, we, through, many conversations with Marketo, I think we push the limits of what their platform can do and go beyond.
Thank you. Any builds on that, Kim? Any additional thoughts?
No, I mean, I would agree with Sharon and Shanna. It's easy in theory, right? We sit in a lot of conferences and people talk in theory about if you had this data and if you knew this, then you could do this, and we all get excited about it. And we go back to our office, and why does it never get executed? Because that's the hard part, right? It's easy to talk about it, and it's easy to say, if I knew this, then I would do this. But how do you get the data in a robust enough way to be that accurate, to be able to automate that response? And that's where it gets challenging. So
what I would say in our organization, at least, is we have made those investments in processes on the sales side, but not necessarily after the sale. And I would argue that the cost of client acquisition is high, the cost of losing a client is high, and there needs to be an equal focus after the client acquisition.
Excellent. So this is a cool conversation. Thank you, guys. You're making my job easy. So I'd like to, before we open up for general questions, let me kind of make a quick point. When we say customer journey orchestration, I think that's what we're talking about, right? Like I think all of our leaders here are saying, how do I get beyond automated campaigns, like especially automated prospecting campaigns, and get to a broader life cycle, fully tech-enabled journey experience? And I would call that the cutting edge. We see technology starting to do that, and we think it's a real conversation now. Maybe that'll be the next luncheon when we can talk about those technologies. But let me kind of, before we run out of time, I'd like to just open up to hear your wisdom. So as leaders who are leading marketing organizations in this challenging arena, kind of what have you learned? What are the most important learnings for, I think, our participants here to hear? What wisdom would you share with them? Would you like to start, Kim?
Yeah, so from a journey perspective, it doesn't look like that. I wish it did. From what right, we all want to draw it because it's easy to draw. You go through this, and you go through this, and you go through this, and there's gates. I do think there are triggers, and I think there's a small set of triggers that are decision points that a customer, or in our case, customers or consumers, go through to finally make their decision. But I don't know that they're always in the same order. They're definitely not linear. They definitely don't go in one direction. They'll go back and in and out throughout the journey. And I think that's where the challenge comes in on how to do your content management, your content creation to serve wherever that consumer is going to be in the decision process, to help them make it through that decision point, to at least get to the next one, close them all, and be at a point where they can make their final decision and hopefully choose you.
Excellent. Thank you.
My words of wisdom. I think for an effective customer journey, you have to allow your customer to participate in their own journey. It can't be just pushing out through marketing automation in a way that you think that they want to understand or consume your content. You have to give them opportunities to have authentic conversations back to you, to talk and provide their insights to you. So it's a great thing to do with your current clients or customers. If they're already customers, have them partner with you, give them a platform to then go out and evangelize for you. Let them be part of their buyer journey.
I like it. So yeah, I would say the same thing. Listening, right? Listening to your customers. Looking at the behavioral intent triggers and acting on those and using the messaging that your customers want to hear would be my first thing. Secondly, I am a big advocate of prioritizing and doing a few things well, and instead of trying to do everything and doing it maybe poorly. Thirdly, map it out. And Kim, I like that you say that is not what it looks like, because it doesn't. It is not linear. And map it out, put some structure behind it, because what you end up doing is finding holes. It makes you think about things you didn't. And so map it out, even if it is, looks more like a spider than a string.
I like that. Okay, so there are segments you can map out. You can't stitch them all together in a linear fashion, but you sure can think about each of those segments of a journey. Is that fair? Good. My radar says we've got some questions in the room. I want to leave us a good amount of time to hear you guys' thoughts and questions. Yes, back here.
Who's got a question?
Just curious, Sharon, you mentioned sales versus service and retention versus acquisition. With the three of you, given all the silos that you guys have to deal with in marketing and customer experience et al. Being involved in this, do you feel like your organizations are lacking a person who's really responsible for customer journey orchestration? And if so, who would that be beyond the CMO?
I believe that our company is lacking a central oversight. We don't have a central customer experience function at Tyler Technologies. Different parts of the customer experience are happening in different departments. We have some roles that have more overarching views. We've talked about that being a function of marketing in the past. That doesn't have a widespread adoption within our company yet, but that is a conversation that we're having.
One of the things that we've done that has been important to our journey is we've hired some consultants who know this better than we do. And that, I think, has been critical, and they are long-term consultants. They've been with us for a couple of years now. They've seen us through some trial and error. But I do think that has been key for us, is bringing in somebody who knows it a little bit better than we do.
Yeah, so I've got a little bit different approach, probably than others might. I'm trying to embed it in all of our departments, and I'm trying to integrate it into our regular way of thinking. So we've done a couple of workshops where I bring in a cross-section of my team, the extended team. We actually put it on the map. We made it look linear so that we could comprehend the way we want to talk about it. But then throughout that, we walked through and process map together what this would look like, and then hopefully got the team aligned around, do we agree or do we not agree on the areas that we need to work on to improve.
So you spoke so eloquently about the importance of customer retention, and I feel like we've known this for such a long time. I've been a part of analyses of how hard it is to get a customer back once you've lost them, and what do you think continues to be the barrier for companies to not put equal money towards customer retention and acquisition?
So in my opinion, I think you're right. I think that intellectually we know that. We can see even the numbers. We don't have to be sold on that concept. But I think, we're for-profit businesses, most of us, unless you're a nonprofit, but most of us are probably for-profit businesses. We have a high value on the sales process and acquiring clients. We put a lot of resources in there. I don't know about your businesses, but we pride ourselves at being good in service, good in support. We think that's enough to keep our clients happy, but we know it's not. It's not enough. We had to go the extra step, and we had to sell the investment in additional tools and additional programs, and they cost the business money. It's not free to set up online communities and create content for our current clients. And so it's a harder sell, in my opinion, but worth it. It's worth the work to do. And when you see in our business, reoccurring maintenance grow year after year, and that become a larger and larger percentage, and even eclipsing our overall revenue for new sales, that's when you really see how important it is. And I believe that Tyler's there, although I can imagine other companies aren't.
I'd like to pick up on that question and do a part B. How big of a factor is that it's a daunting subject and it's complex? Does that slow down the action in terms of getting things moving and getting traction?
Yeah, you don't lose a customer overnight, right? You can gain a customer pretty quickly, but a customer can be, they're not, especially in our world where it's a software implementation, that's hard to implement another software. You don't go choose another software immediately. So you can keep a customer that's mediocrely happy for a long time. And I think you lose, I think you can get complacent. If I go back to the marriage analogy, dating is short and it's exciting, but you have complacency in a long-term relationship with your customer, and one day you can wake up and not know who your partner is and think, I'm not in love anymore, I'm gonna go find somebody else. Not personal experience, guys. I'm just making an analogy. Happily married for 14 years.
Okay, we've got another question back here in the back.
Hi. What exasperates you the most? In other words, if there were two pieces of information that you could get together, you could figure out and make a real difference in your business. Didn't mean to make it that hard.
Yeah, no, that is a tough one. I think, boy, there's so many more than two. That's the problem. I think to some extent, one of our biggest issues is, and this is more of a people thing, I think, than anything else. But some of this is trial and error. And you're learning as you go, and at least most of the people I work with, we are, and most of my team, they want to exceed, and they take a lot of pride in what they do, and we're impatient to make things happen right the first time. And probably my biggest issue, and I will tell you, after thinking that the consultants were ready to wring my neck a couple of weeks ago, I decided I needed to take a step back and be patient and let things work through the system, and be more, let that trial and error take place on a more natural level, as opposed to me just, pushing too hard all the time that it's right out the gate. Because you know what? It's not going to be.
Yeah, I think for me, it's not the inability, it's not the companies not allowing us to do what we think we need to do. I'm not running into that. It's the speed with which we can make things happen, right? You want to do so much at one time, and you can't. So it goes back to this, you have to pick the select few and be patient. And then you've got to always remember that it's not just your decision as the marketer or the marketing team. You got to bring a whole ship of, the rest of the corporation with you on these journeys.
The two technology pieces that we connected first were our support CRM and our sales CRM. So they are one. We didn't just connect them, they are the same platform. So when we're talking to a customer, we see their sales information. When we're looking at a sales opportunity, we're seeing their related customer journey information. So those are the places we started.
Okay, it's a two-part question, and more applied. So, since you've been analyzing customer journeys for a while, what is the most surprising aspect you've learned? And secondly, how did you learn it?
Yeah, so initially, I think this is probably the most surprising aspect for me is that it really does work. And, sending that right message, so really you can attribute things that don't work in a marketing organizations to many different factors. But the truth of it is, if you're hitting someone with the right message at the right time, it makes a big difference. And and we see pickup. We're brand new. We're just getting out of the gate with this. But I will tell you, we already see a pickup in our ROI. Our numbers are already looking better. Our cost per click is getting better. So I think that's probably my 2 cents.
I think something that I have been surprised with is how willing our customers are to engage with us and help us. When we set out with our community platform, for example, we thought it would be very hard to get our customers engaged and becoming community leaders. This is a very user-driven community, but it was almost as if they were just itching to tell everybody about how they do their job and what they think. And it's just become a really robust platform for our customers to share their own insights that may not even be related to our products with their customers. And then we are able to mine that for marketing opportunities and sharing that outside of our company. But that surprised me. And I think that if you don't have a platform to capture that kind of engagement, it's something that you might consider.
So this isn't something I'm surprised with, which is sad, but this is something that I continue to be frustrated with, which is we give these, high-tech tools to our customers, our dealers, so that they can be more professional, give better presentations, help the customer feel better about the decision they have to make. And they get really excited about them, and they ask about them, and we think, oh, great. And we do a lot of training, and we do a lot of demonstrations with them. And then in the heat of the battle, they go right back to doing it the way they've always done it. So it's that, constant move them up so they can slide back and move them up and slide back. So I don't know that I'm surprised by it because I've seen it for too many years, but it continues to be a point of frustration for me.
All right, we have time for one more question. Right here.
Hi. So you've been talking about mainly the B2B relationships between you and your dealers or vendors. So how do you even work on the aspect of the spillover effect to the end user of how this value is communicated? Do you do anything special throughout this journey for this to be communicated to the end user?
Yeah, that was kind of where I started. We talked only B2B for the longest time. Forgot that the consumers out there are the ones that are making the end decision and making the choice to buy our product. One of the things that we saw in that is that our talking B2B, we talk tech talk, and we start talking, the dealers then have that kind of language and that conversation with the homeowners, and they don't understand it. So first thing for us is just change the way we're talking. Whether we're talking to dealers or whether we're talking to homeowners, it's the same language. It's consumer speak. Because they'll repeat it, and it's better understood throughout the entire chain. So we've aligned the two in that way.
We don't engage, our end users in our world would be citizens and people in communities. We don't do engagement with our citizens. We have software applications that connect to them so they can apply for permits online, or if they're a parent, they can log on to a parent portal. So we certainly have citizen-facing applications, not just back office. But right now, we've talked about it, is how, probably a lot of you guys don't know Tyler Technologies, and it's for a reason. Even though we're in Addison, we're in Plano, we're in Dallas, we're in 15,000 cities and counties across the country, and I think that's an opportunity for us.
All right. Can we get a round of applause for our great panelists today? Thank you guys so much for spending some time with us.